What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi flying solo today. Sheets hopefully will be with us later for 6 Eastern to talk a little NBA and MLB. I'm going to be doing an MLB breakdown on a really tough slate. Coming off a great night, won the Monster last night on FanDuel for 15,000, which was great. We got some bigger tournaments tonight. Obviously, some really big tournaments as there's 12 games, but we have some serious weather concerns in 3 of them especially. And that's where we're going to start off. I'm going to share my screen, and we're not going to go game by game. We're going to talk about favorite plays overall and sort of how to approach this slate in general. So as far as it goes, I'm really concerned primarily with the Milwaukee, Washington, Atlanta, New York Mets game. I think those are the 2 most likely. I think it's actually likely that they cancel those games. Miami at Boston is another one that I think is sort of tough. Again, even if these games play, the hitting weather isn't great. There's obviously some pieces of Boston. I would have some interest in stacking there anyway. And just the fact that they're at home, and you've got a middling pitcher with a weak bullpen behind them. It's Miami, and I would have some interest in the Milwaukee and Washington bats, especially the Milwaukee side. And I also would have some interest in Ian Anderson in the Mets game. But as it stands, we don't have all that stuff available. At least I'm treating the slate as if that's not the case, which sort of makes pitching tough. So we're going to talk about the pitchers. Right now, there are 6 pitchers I'm using. Garrett Cole, Shohei Ohtani, assuming that he doesn't get stuck in traffic again. Sean Manaea, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Walker Buehler, and then the ones you add in are, I'm going to filter in a little bit of some Dobnik, which doesn't feel amazing, but he's got the pitch count up, going better. The strikeout stuff is very medium. But I do think that against KC here at 5,800, if you wanted to pay down, he's a route you could go. And I think Jordan Lyles is another one. Again, doesn't really throw over 80 plus pitches, doesn't strike out a ton of guys. You have a really, really watered down Seattle team because of the 4 guys who are out. So it's going to be a weird situation, but I think that I even like a Seattle stack a little bit against Lyles, but I also think there's some merit in playing Lyles here at 5,300 if you need to spend down. But mainly, I think you can fit Walker Buehler and Garrett Cole in, and I think that's what you should try to primarily do. The problem is Buehler has a terrible pitcher's umpire tonight, great hitter's umpire. I do like the Dodgers in part because of that. Also, they just lit up DeScalfani, and on this slate, we don't really have the same stacks that we would have if everything was full. And even though there's weaker pitchers, it's not so many obvious stacks. So real quickly to go through the stacks I really like the White Sox. I really like the Cardinals. I like the Diamondbacks. I like the Dodgers. I like the Yankees. Some interest in the Twins. I'm still deciding what to do with that one. Not great hitting weather, but team that crushes left-handed pitching against the lefty in Bubic, I think is interesting. Casey Mize has been good, but again, I think the Yankees, if they get to him, you get a terrible bullpen behind him as well. So I sort of like the idea of trying to go after him, even though again he's been pretty good. But look at the matchups have been pretty soft outside of Boston. And he can get a little bit wild, which should lead to some potential danger against this Yankee lineup. So those are the guys I really like, leaning mostly towards the Cards, Diamondbacks, and White Sox. White Sox being my number one, mostly doing 4-man stacks. Partially Harvey has been good enough and hasn't he just doesn't walk as many guys, so it's not as exciting to maybe go for the full stack. But you definitely have a guy who gives up plenty of hard contact, lots of hits. There should be a lot to go around here for this White Sox team that just to me looks great right now. So that's where I'm at with that. Diamondbacks, Cards, White Sox, some Mariners, some Twins, some Dodgers, some Yankees. But those are my core stacks for the day. The big 3 are the Cards, Diamondbacks, and White Sox. I am a little nervous about my love for the Cardinals, as Mad Bum has been pretty good this year. And it definitely could be a little bit dangerous. Even like you look at the last game that he pitched, he's weird because he's actually got really good control for the most part, but then he'll have these games with 4 walks like he did, but that was against the Dodgers. Had another game with 3 walks against the Oakland, the A's. So I sort of like, again, I'm sort of leaning more 4-man stacks, but I do think that, 5 is totally fine for any of these. I really do like St. Louis. I like the pricing on both sides, and I think you can get a lot of power upside against Mad Bum in a game that should have great hitting conditions, open roof. Bet the over on this game. I really like both sides of it. Going after Mad Bum and then Oviedo slash St. Louis's bullpen is interesting to me. I mean, they'll try to let Oviedo go. I just think that Arizona gets to him. That's where I'm at tonight. Anyway, so as far as pitching goes, again, I would have interest in Ian Anderson as well, but he's not. We don't get him. We don't get Taijuan Walker. These are guys I would have had some interest in playing, and so it's a little tricky. So again, pitching: Cole, Buehler, Ryu, Minaya, Ohtani, and a little bit of Lyles, a little bit of Dobnak. Going position by position, just to see, again, it's gonna be stack related in a lot of spots, but catcher, I'm using a lot of stacks, but I'm using a lot of Grandal, a lot of Mercedes, some Mitch Garver, spending all the way down for the Seattle catcher. His name is eluding me at the moment, but I think that he is a legitimate option at 2K, and I do like Seattle a little bit. So Godoy is definitely an option at 2K. You're going to get a lot of minimum cost guys from Seattle if you want to spend up at pitching and use these guys to fill in as you please. So those are my main guys. I do like Will Smith a little bit, and I think that Salvador Perez is reasonable, but I just think if I'm spending up, I'm going for Mercedes and Grandal, and that's what most of my lineups are looking like right now. And like I said, you can also spend all the way down, which is another thing that I'm doing a little bit of as well. So those are my main catchers. First base, we'll go through it pretty quick. Goldschmidt's my number 1. I'm sorry, Goldschmidt / Abreu. I don't know which one I would prefer Goldschmidt, I think, actually today. 3,900 against Mad Bum. He's got a pretty good history against him. Not a ton of, he only hit a couple home runs off him in 60 at bats, but I believe he's hitting like 350 off of them. This is not the same Mad Bum he faced for most of those years. So definitely a fan of Goldie at 3,900 here. He's my favorite play, probably price included, but I do think Jose Abreu is an awesome play as well. You can use Vaughn here from the White Sox as well, but I do think that I'd rather use him in the outfield because I'm using Abreu in many of the lineups I have him. Not all of them, but most of them. The other ones, Muncy, I would rather play at second base. I do think Matt Olson is a reasonable play. I'm probably going to skip Sano today, and I will have a couple lineups with the pay all the way down for Seattle's first baseman, like I mentioned with the catcher, Eric Campbell. It's not anything exciting. This is a way to pay down and maybe complete some stacks, some 5-man stacks against Lyles, because I think that is viable as a route to go today. Second base. It's pretty ugly for me. Tommy Edmond, if you can afford him, cheaper on FanDuel. I like him. I like Muncy. I like the guy who I'm probably using the most of is Rojas because he's reasonably priced and he's in the game I love. He should be leading off tonight or somewhere near there. Not like the best power hitter in the world or anything like that, but leading off for a lineup that I'm stacking. I even step it from stacks, enough power and a decent enough hitter where I think he makes sense as a middling play. There's not a lot to like, so I even have some Owen Miller punts, probably batting 7th or so for Cleveland. Another game with a little bit of weather concerns, but it's less worrisome than the other. You can also use them at short. So plenty of ways to spend down today, but mostly it's going to be a lot of Rojas for me. LeMahieu makes sense, but is a little bit expensive over here. Again, cheaper on FanDuel. And I really just don't like this position. Rugnan and Odor would be the other guy for me. So Rojas and Odor at the same price are the guys who I'm sort of switching back and forth between. Third base, I actually do like a lot tonight. I love Nolan Arenado. I love Yohan Moncada. I love who was the other? Sorry, I'm trying to look at my lineups and my other screen over here. I like Kyle Seager as a part of Seattle stacks or even as a one-off. I love Josh Donaldson not great hitting weather, but he's way too cheap at 4K and hasn't really looked great, but has actually hit the ball better when he's making contact. It's just not going his way so far. And then Anthony Rendon is a guy who I need to make sure to prioritize and get a little bit more of, because I think that Rendon against the lefty, I do like Minaya today, but it's just he's awesome against lefties. I'm not going to take his season and put too much emphasis on it. I know he struggled. We've seen this happen with hitters. It'll happen for months at a time and come right out of it with a couple home runs. So I actually do like Rendon quite a bit. And then I also am playing Eduardo Escobar in that same St. Louis, Arizona game. Those are the main guys I'm looking at over there. At short, it's going to be basically a weird position for me. I love Gavin Lux here, assuming that he's batting in the top 5, which I think he will tonight, but it's still unsure. I like, again, you can use Rojas and Miller over here as well. I'm sorry, you can't use Rojas over here. You can use Miller over here as well, which I've got some of at 2K. But Tommy Edmond, again, makes plenty of sense. Second base is weak. But so is Short. I mean, Short is not, look through the names. Nobody's in the great spot. Nothing's really easy. Sosa, you can use also from that same game that I like against Bumgarner, assuming that he's in the lineup. Nick Ahmed, another one you could use from the same game. And maybe my favorite of the spend downs would be Adalberto Mondesi. Just the speed upside is enough for me. And I know he hasn't looked great. It's been a few games only, and he's coming off an injury and everything. But I do like Mondesi quite a bit as a guy to spend down for, especially with that stolen base upside. So that's sort of what I'm leaning at as of right now. I don't mind if you want to mix Crawford into some of your Seattle stacks, but those are the guys who I'm mostly focusing on at short. Glaber is fine as part of Yankee stacks as a one-off, fine, but not ideal. And a lot of the guys I would have liked here, like the Bogarts, are not going to be there. I do think there is some merit to Bo Bichette and Toronto stacks in general today. I'm just probably not going to end up doing it with the way that I'm building. I just simply prefer the other stacks better. But and if the Washington game was going to play, Trey Turner obviously would be a very strong play. Maybe you can just play Fernando Tatis against Valdez here in the lefty-righty matchup. I don't really care who the pitcher is that much when it's Tatis. He's just a monster, and obviously offers you great stolen base and power upside. One of the league leaders in both. So he would be the one to spend up for. But again, I'm leaning more towards spending down in this lower range, maybe paying all the way down for Owen Miller, or playing the middling Gavin Lux, Tommy Edmond, a little bit low high end. I would say it's and then Sosa. It's not my favorite position. I forgot one major guy. Tim Anderson, obviously not just a part of White Sox stacks, but I do like Tim Anderson a ton here. Again, stolen base upside and power upside against Harvey. Should come back off the DL today, and it's a finger injury, so it's not going to affect his running very much. So I really like him quite a bit. Outfield is loaded as usual. So again, I like first base, and that's mostly it's usually first base / outfield eligible. With Rojas, you have second base / outfield, but I'm not using Rojas at all in the outfield. Spend downs. Okay, so for value, Vaughn, Chris Davis with a K, but I prefer Will Myers at 2,700. Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill. It's interesting because I think Carlson's going to be significantly more owned than O'Neill. At least my early projections have that run. But you look at just the raw power numbers, and it feels like you'd want to play Tyler O'Neill, even though he's batting probably 6th versus the 2nd of Carlson. So even in stacks, I think I still prefer Tyler O'Neill. I will have plenty of Carlson, and I will have some of them together, but those are the guys I'm looking at. I love David Peralta today. I know he hasn't always been there for us. He did get me there last night, barely. I mean, not because he was so productive, but I needed him to make it out in the 10th inning to ensure I really had nobody left. I had him, so he could hit a home run, a 2-run homer with Rojas on base, or he could have struck it, or he could have made an out, and I would have won. And that is exactly what happened, and thank goodness he did. But I do like Peralta again tonight. I really like it's tough for me because I actually prefer Ketel Marte to all those guys, but if price is a thing, which it kind of is because I'm using a lot of Buehler and Cole lineups, even though Buehler has a tough umpire that I'm going to have to spend down a little bit. And even the extra 400 has made a difference in a few of my lineups with the way that I'm stacking, comboing Arizona, St. Louis, and the White Sox. I love Mookie up near the top. I love Judge near the top. I assume that we are going to get Giancarlo Stanton back today, and that would be just an awesome play. Assuming that he is in the lineup, of course, he'll be batting third if he is. And I think that he's an awesome play as a part of a stack or as a one-off. 5K is just way, way, way too cheap for him. Other guys, Kyle Lewis, part of Seattle stacks. Jared Klinick. Oh, sorry, I didn't pronounce it right. I got the. I can never get the Klinick right. I think that's right. But again, top prospect, hasn't been great so far. I had a couple home runs, but I do believe in this kid, so I like him quite a bit in the middle tier. My favorite, probably all around, is going to be Adolis Garcia against the lefty. Most people may not realize this guy leads the league in home runs. At least he did as of a day ago, or tied for the league with Guerrero. And you just see, I mean, the guy's red hot too. Like, he's just monster power upside. Oddly enough, Seattle, I believe, actually to be a park upgrade from the Texas Stadium. I don't think it's a great hitter's park, this new Texas Stadium, especially when the roof is closed. So I do like Garcia quite a bit. Definitely somebody that I'll have as a one-off all over the place. Looking down at some other ones, JJ Reddick. I'm still in basketball mode. Josh Reddick, really like him at 2,300. I think that he's viable. I don't love that, we haven't seen much out of him, but it does fit into stacks and should bat like sixth in the order. And I don't believe in Oviedo as well as the Arizona bullpen. You also have Lane Thomas on the other side, who I believe should probably bat at eighth, assuming that he does play today. But he's 2,300 as well. Finding myself switching those guys a little bit. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but those are my spend downs. And I mentioned I'll spend all the way ups, and then I also mentioned Garcia. But the other guys you're mixing in here would be Kyle Tucker, Benintendi, Jorge Soler, Kyle Garlick, Nelson Cruz. I know these prices are all over the place, but these are the guys who I'm using. Mitch Haniger, Adam Eaton. And that is most of my outfield. I don't think I left anybody out, but I will firm that up as I come later. Justin Upton, the other one at 3K, even 3,300. Anytime you get a lefty, even though it's Manaea, I just am going to take a shot. And Upton has actually showed great power still this year with 10 home runs. So I definitely have interest in Upton as well. But again, so just to recap, favorite pitchers, Cole and Buehler is my combo. I also am using Ryu and Manaea as my next most used. And then Ohtani, who I don't love using on big slates because he usually is limited pitch-wise. But this is a little bit of an exception because we don't have great options. And then the pay downs are Dobnik and Jordan Lyles, just because of how weak Seattle's lineup is. I know we're taking bats against them, but those are the guys I'm looking at there. Not going to get to Casey Mize, not going to get to DeScalfani against the Dodgers. And it's just not going to happen for me with Sheffield or any of these other guys. I think Sheffield is the one who wouldn't surprise me if he had a game here. But at the same time, we've had one game all year that we would even want from him. Do we really want to do this here? I think I'd rather just find the extra money and pay for Ryu and Manaea personally. And I think I have more Manaea at the moment, but I'm starting to lean a little bit more Ryu. I think that he's when he gets in his zones, he just becomes almost unhittable. He did it for that one full season with the Dodgers and was one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in baseball that year. And he's sort of in a little bit of that zone right now. Look at these matchups too. I mean, Tampa Bay is no slouch. Boston is obviously really tough. At Atlanta, and he's been really good. So I think Ryu is starting to climb the list for me as my as a preference. And if you want to do something fun to kind of spend down in both spots, you can just use Ryu and Manaea both. It does make things a little bit easier for the bats, but as I mentioned, there's a lot of value out there today, so I'm not too worried about it. And again, stacks are going to be, if Boston plays, I would say Boston, but I'm skeptical on that one. I do love the Yanks, but they're not my favorite. My favorites are the White Sox, Cards, and Diamondbacks, followed by the Twins, Dodgers, and Mariners, and a lot of 2 and 3 man combinations in there as well. So that's just a quick video for the day to give you an idea of how I'm building, what I'm doing, and just a reminder to really watch the weather today, because it's going to be pretty nasty, and we'll have that updated for you at 6 Eastern. Probably going to do a short show, about a half hour if Sheets doesn't show up. If Sheets does, we'll go for the full time, but it's hard to do both, run the show and then handle when I'm playing a bunch of lineups, as I tend to do when things are going well. So back at it tonight. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully everybody out there crushes it tonight. Good luck, y'all, and we'll see you at the top of leaderboards.